kitchen. This is a diary entry, thought in my brain. I just wanted to share with you something that happened yesterday and how easy it is in our job to fall foul of the rules and regulations that govern the tachographs. Now, for those that are not drivers, tachographs are a means of tracking what the vehicle does, and most of the ones in the UK now are digital tachograph cards, which are like same size as a credit card, and they've got a little chip in it that records everything that the vehicle and the driver does. Also on the head of the machine that it goes into, that records everything as well. There are some round discs still on older vehicles, but over time they will phase out because they're not being replaced anymore. We don't have logbooks. I noticed that some of my new subscribers are in Australia and in America. I don't know what you use there, but we don't have logbooks anymore. Now, the rules and regulations to do with the tachograph are what professional drivers, whether they're, sorry, I'm making my food to take with me, so you have to bear with me at the same time. We have to adhere to these rules and regulations and prove to, over in the UK, it's the driver vehicle standards agencies that monitor everything that can stop you on the side of the road, and ultimately it's a traffic commissioner. The HGV licence, the lorry truck licence, and the PSV licence are vocational licences, which means that you don't actually own them, and the traffic commissioner can take it away from you if you don't adhere to those rules and regulations. They are massively complicated, and one thing that happened to me yesterday was in those rules and regulations is a thing called the ferry movement, which allows you to break your daily rest to get on a ferry and get off a ferry. When you're on that ferry, you have a bunk. So you couldn't use it on the Dover-Calais crossing because it's not long enough and you don't get a bunk, whereas on the longer crossings, on the Western crossing, Dieppe, or the one I used was Caen, you get a bunk and you can get your head down on there. This and gives you an hour. Now that hour can be broken twice. So the logic being, you break it to get on the ferry, you break it to get off the ferry. But that hour is restricted to just those two movements and just an hour. So what happened yesterday with me was I got into Caen, and although for years we struggled getting out of Portsmouth because it just took forever. It's not like Dover-Calais where you just fire it out. It's got the passport control is just two huts, one hut and two people each side, and everybody has to go through passport control. Everything has to get checked, and then you could be sent round to customs for a check. And now they have a mobile scanner. So what happens now is I did put it on my last one of my last videos. Well, it might not have been the last one, but a couple of videos ago, and you'll see how it works there. Passport control, and then round to this little scanner, you go through there and then you exit the port. That sounds perfect, but it just took so long yesterday. It took so long. So I'd had an hour on the dock. I used 3 minutes of my ferry mode to get on the ferry. So then I had 57 minutes to get off the ferry in Portsmouth, go round, do all what you've got to do, passport control and everything, and get out the port and get parked. So I had 57 minutes, which logically it's doable. It's really easy doable, but it took me 77 minutes yesterday to get from the link span off the boat to exit the port. Now there's no parking in the port in Portsmouth. You can't park there. and there is very little parking around the Portsmouth area. A couple of small truck stops, but I wasn't getting off the boat till 10:30 last night, or it was 10:30 by the time I came out of the dock gate. So there was no way anywhere is going to be available around there. So it was a case of finding lay-by, the first lay-by you could get to. So as well as the 77 minutes it took me to get off the ferry and out of Portsmouth gates, the actual physical gates, that was 77 minutes. And then it took me 37 minutes to find somewhere to park, a lay-by to park in. So I've then broken the law. Now, what you're supposed to do, which is what I did, I did a printout from the machine, a digital tachograph thing, did a printout, it just printed out everything that I'd done in that time and wrote it down in my diary, made a note on the back, informed the guy that owns the vehicle and everything like that. Done all that. The problem then comes to you is when you go to a different country and you are not fluent in the language. If you're fluent in the language, then that's fine, you can explain and in their language and it all makes sense to them and they know what you're talking about. But what usually happens, I mean, I speak a little bit of French, I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I wouldn't say I'm fluent in it, and I definitely don't speak German, and I don't speak Slovakian or Romanian. They may speak English, but usually what you find is even if they speak English, they won't speak English when they're trying to find you. So then, as well as that, is that they quite often just say, not our problem, not our problem. And you explain, you know, there's nowhere to park and it took a long time to get out, and you try and explain, and even if they understand you regularly, they'll say, not our problem. So you see, then what happens on the continent, well, what happens in the UK as well now, you're parked up, you're fined, you're parked up until you pay the fine. You're not allowed to move anywhere until that fine's paid. Usually what happens is that you pay a deposit for a fine until that case goes to court. Now, it could go up, the fine could go up. I've never heard of it going down, or it could just stay, they say, all right, okay. If you pay on the spot, you generally get a reduction, but if you pay on the spot, you then admit the offence, even if you think you're in the right, and you waive your right to appeal. So what I've been told by a company called Grua Trucks in Spain, who will do the appealing for you in lots of different countries, they have agencies, I'm not getting paid for them, but what I've been told by them is if you pay a fine, because obviously what happens is, for example, I got fined in France and I got fined in Portugal for something that I really didn't agree to, but because I don't speak Portuguese, I couldn't, and they did, 99% of the Portuguese speak English, and but he wouldn't, anyway, beside the point. But so what I do and what I've been advised to do is, if you pay a fine and you think that you're going to appeal, or you may appeal, is write on it, I do not understand Portuguese, which is what I did. Do not understand Portuguese. I do not know what I'm signing. And that, then they can go back and say, well, you know, yes, she paid the fine, but she didn't know what she was doing, and so now we're going to appeal. So it kind of, technically, that you shouldn't be able to appeal, but it kind of goes in your favour as to why you're now appealing. So, you know, you have to bear that in mind. If you've got a UK passport, then they will still allow, and you're driving a European lorry, they'll tend, I think they send the fine to the house, which is, I think, is the same as if you, I've never come across that, so I can't really say. But what I'm saying is that it's all right making up rules and regulations, and I can honestly say my opinion of the traffic commissioner is he, she, they are career civil servants. Don't think that they think and appreciate the way the job works, because they don't. They are career civil servants. They've never done our job. They've never been on the front line, if you see what I mean. They only see things in black and white, which is understandable. That's their job, but you have to be very careful, and you have to appreciate where they're coming from. Is that the law is the law? Well, it's not. They're not laws. You see, this is another thing that happens, is that they're not laws. They're rules and regulations, and they're open to interpretation. Which then, of course, then you go to Spain, for example, and they have a different interpretation of that law. It could be exactly the same words, and I'll point one out to you. The back of UK lorries have long vehicle signs on them, but they also tend to have this, especially new ones, they have this reflective tape that goes all the way around the back, and it's like a square around the back of the doors, and they don't necessarily have the old-fashioned oblong plates that are on each side, because they have all this reflective going on all around it. So it passes the MOT, everything in the UK. Now, I know of a driver that got fined in Spain because he didn't have the oblong plates. It was a brand new trailer and it had all of the square, reflective, everything, but it didn't have oblong plates. And he got €120 fine because he did €121 fine. There's always a 1 in Spain for some reason, and for not having 2 reflective plates. That wouldn't happen in the UK, but it happened in Spain. And there's nothing you can do, because they can point it out in the book, and that's the book that they use. It needs to have that plate. Yeah, but I've got those, and that covers me in the UK and everything. MOT, there's the MOT and all that. It doesn't matter. That's what they say. You've broken the Spanish law, and that's it. So what I'm saying is kind of bear it in mind, is that those rules and regulations are so complicated. You could go down a massive wormhole on YouTube, because everybody's got a different opinion on them. You go to your classes, and you do your driver's CPC, you do all your education, and you've done it for 30 years, whatever, you think you know it. But there is always something that you don't know. Always. And there is always somebody that wants to do you for that one. So all you can do is your best, which is what I've done, and hopefully that will cover me for the next, I think it's 56 days, 53 days, something like that. I'm sure somebody will know this better than me, and will know the rules and regulations better than me. My friend Simon Lampett, he is absolutely on the ball with all of it, and so he may be able to put in the comments if I've gone wrong somewhere. But it's so frustrating when you're trying to do everything right, and then something happens out of the ordinary, but they will not take it on board. So anyway, I've got to go back to doing my food. That's me mince done. That needs to cool down now, and I've done my bacon. Just need to tidy my kitchen up now. So I leave that thought with you. Have a good one. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the little bell, leave me comments in the bottom. I'll try and get back to all of them. And be safe. I will post another video tomorrow, I think. So anyway, but nice that everybody's there and everything. If there's anything I can help anybody with, I'm not an expert on driver's hours or anything like that, but it's a vocation, not a job, and if I can help anybody with it, then I will. Just a question, really. Somebody might know, be able to leave it in the comments. When I got off the ferry last night and got to passport control, border force, the border force agent asked to see the operator's licence for the vehicle and the company paperwork and the paperwork for the vehicle. When I questioned him about it, he got a bit uppity. Well, sorry, because I did say to him, do you know what you're looking at? And he looked at me. I said, well, you're Border Force. I said, I wouldn't expect the BVSA to ask me to see my passport unless they needed details of my address or proof of identity or something. But I wouldn't automatically think that they would need my passport. So why do you need my operator's license and that sort of thing? And he said, oh, we can ask for what we want. I said, well, I'm not saying you can't. I said, but do you know? And I gave them to him, and it's not my lorry, so it don't make a difference. I said, I'm not saying you can't. I said, I'm just asking why you need them, and do you know what you're looking at? Because obviously mine's a European vehicle, so everything is not in English. So, you know, does he know what he's looking at? And he said, oh, you know who I am. He said, I'm Border Force, and held up his thing on his jacket. I said, yeah, but that doesn't, I said, you're a guy in a uniform to me. He said, oh, he got a bit uppity. You're in a controlled area and I'm vetted and all this. And I said, yeah, but did you happen to see about that thing about that policeman that attacked that pretty lady? I said, he was vetted and he wore a uniform. I said, so I'm not keen on you knowing all the details of everything if you don't have to. I said, and that's what I'm asking is, do you have to look at them? You know, why are you wanting to look at them? So if anybody can answer, if anybody knows the answer to that, then let me know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the lorry or anything like that, the company or anything, but I just don't see why they needed it. He did say, my colleague knows what she's looking at. I said, so you've got a DVSA colleague in there, have you? And he didn't say yes and he didn't say no. He just said she knows what she's looking at. So whether she can read Spanish, Portuguese, German and Lithuanian, Latvian, Bulgarian or whatever it is, I don't know. But somebody might know. Okay, see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.